I'm going to talk to you about a topic very close to my heart because I'm the mother of a 20-year-old. Because I have young and older women sitting across my table every day wishing they had this information much earlier. Because women's reproductive health is something that I have dedicated my life to. How many times do you wish that somebody had told you about certain things much earlier before you found it out the hard way? Maybe about money, about relationships. Now imagine it is about your fertility. Just that, like money, you cannot actually regain it. Like a career, you cannot actually rebuild it. No, it's just a specific window. Once it's gone, it's gone. This is the conversation we are going to have here today about your fertility, about egg freezing, about elective social egg freezing. So, first and foremost, what is elective egg freezing and why should we think about it? Why are we really talking about it? Now, please understand that usually in normal circumstances, when a girl is born, she is born with two ovaries in her reproductive tract. Ovaries are the reservoirs of the eggs or the female gametes, right? Now, when a girl is born, she is born with all the eggs that she is ever going to have in her entire lifetime. So, at birth, the ovaries contain about 2 million eggs. By the time she achieves her menses or menarche, she has about 200,000 to 300,000 eggs remaining in her ovary, which means from the time she was born to even the time that she achieved her menses, these eggs have been depleting, have been decreasing in total number. And of course, as she starts aging and becomes older, these numbers keep on even decreasing further. And by the time she reaches the age of 40 or over 40, there are only eggs left in thousands. Ultimately, all the eggs get over and every woman achieves menopause. It's not only just about quantity, it is also about quality. Something switches metabolically inside the cells of the ovary when a woman approaches the age of 35. Research shows that it begins around the age of 34. Now, what is happening because of age? Because of age, the mitochondria in the eggs, which are the energy reservoirs, do not function as well as they used to at a younger age. And that is why the egg becomes metabolically weak. Therefore, not only does the number decrease, but the quality also diminishes once a woman starts getting older. Now, if we know that this is the total number of eggs and it is like an account where you can only deposit once in your lifetime and then you have to keep withdrawing, obviously all these eggs are going to get over at a certain point in time. And the quality of eggs that you have today probably are not going to be as good as when 10 years back, and what you'll have 10 years hence are not going to be as good as you have today. And this is very important information. Now, why are we talking about egg freezing today? Egg freezing, or the first egg freezing, actually happened way back in the 1980s. But at that time, this was restricted for women who were detected with cancer and who needed to preserve their fertility, or women who were anyway going through IVF and probably had some excess eggs, though that was a time when we used to freeze more of embryos rather than eggs. And why were we doing that? We were doing that because the freezing techniques at that point in time were not that robust. We would go with something like slow freezing. Now, this slow freezing would form ice crystals inside the eggs, and these ice crystals would damage the organelles of the eggs. Slowly in the 1990s, really, though it was started coming up much earlier, what came into focus was vitrification. Vitrification is a process where there is fast freezing or rapid freezing of the eggs or the embryos. This prevented the formation of ice crystals inside the egg cell, and thereby the damage to the organelles was prevented. Once this was established very well, this was available in all clinical settings, and that was the time that this technology became available for anybody who wanted to consider freezing their eggs. Now again, who should consider this? It's very important to understand why women should think about it. Who can think about it? Well, any woman can, any girl can. I've heard a lot of people say that egg freezing is for women, who cannot find a husband. I just cannot understand what it is. This is not about your relationship status. This is a medical reason. This is a medical discussion, and it should be handled that way. So every woman, every girl can consider egg freezing. And if you're listening to this and you're a woman, or you're anyone who knows a woman, I think this information needs to get to you. So who can freeze eggs? Any girl, in their mid-20s and onwards can freeze eggs if they want to, if they desire to. But especially girls or women who want to delay parenthood or motherhood due to several factors. Could be because they're still studying, in their late 20s, in their early 30s. They're still building careers, and very much so. I think women should have all slices of the pie, but the biology also needs to go hand in hand. And therefore, again, women who are, trying to go higher up on their career paths, women who have not found the right partner yet, and do not want to take a societal burden of just getting married to whoever comes along so that they can finish their pregnancies. Women who have a slightly low ovarian reserve to start with, women who've been detected with endometriosis, women who have a family history of an earlier menopause in their mothers, in their aunts. These are all the women, in fact, any woman who wants to or wishes to at least have this dialogue can consider the option of egg freezing. Right? Now, once we have understood this, we also need to understand that is this something that everybody should go through? What is the procedure like? What are the risks like? What is the safety? What is the success rate? And is it really something for you? So first and foremost, when we have social egg freezing, what we really need to do is to give some injections to the girl or the woman, so as to produce as many eggs as possible. Then under anesthesia, these eggs are retrieved out of the ovaries, and these mature eggs are then frozen or vitrified with the process that I have just mentioned to you. What are the risks associated with it? Well, the risks are very minimal and mostly theoretical. You can have some effects of the hormone injections, some minimal effects of the anesthesia, but most of the times this procedure is an extremely safe procedure to do, and it has no long-term side effects. What has been seen that with frozen eggs, there is no increased chance of any congenital abnormality or problems happening with the baby. Of course, whatever risks that cryopreservation or IVF minimally can happen on the embryos, that is a factor that one needs to consider. Therefore, this is a completely safe procedure. But what is also important is for you to start the conversation. And how do you really start the conversation? Meet a fertility expert. Get to know your own body. Understand if there is an early menopause history in your own family. Understand if those painful periods that you have, whether or not they are associated with endometriosis, because endometriosis can decrease the quantity as well as the quality of the eggs. Understand where you are placed in life. What are your aspirations? What are your dreams? When do you really want to plan that baby? And get your AMH tested. Because if you really already have a lower ovarian reserve, which is a problem a lot of women in Southeast Asia and especially in India are really having to tackle, is a problem of already lesser eggs in their ovary. If all this is the case and you want to delay the pregnancy, then definitely it is a conversation that you need to have today. Do not delay it, because every month, every year, every time that you lose, the eggs are only going to get depleted. At the same time, remember, nobody is saying that egg freezing is better than a natural conception. If you have the opportunity, if you're open to it, if you want to go ahead and plan pregnancy, natural conception in time, by all means do it, because natural conception is still the best option that anyone can have. But life does not always come out as a very well planned thing that happens in your life. It can just throw challenges at you, and that is the reason you need to be prepared. What if you're not able to do this in time? Does it mean that you'll just let the quantity and quality of your eggs deplete? That is something that is in your hand today, because science and technology offers you this advantage of being able to freeze your eggs so that you can have your own baby with your own biological material. We have these older women come to us whose egg reserve is completely depleted, and many times they have to resort to using donor eggs, that is, eggs from another woman who is a young, fertile woman. Think of it as if you are freezing your eggs right now, and maybe at the age of 39, 40, you can use eggs when you were 30 years old. Obviously, these are going to be younger eggs and they are going to be better in quality. Another myth that I want to really talk about is people often think that, once you freeze your eggs, you cannot conceive naturally. That is not the case at all. We always encourage that even if you have frozen your eggs, please, whenever you start planning a pregnancy, opt and see whether a natural conception is possible. You can fall back and use these preserved eggs only in case natural conception becomes difficult. Of course, you will have to go through an IVF or an ICSI procedure where your husband's or partner's sperm will be used to fertilize these eggs in the laboratory, make embryos, and then those embryos will be transferred back into your uterus. What is the success rate of egg freezing is also something everybody needs to know. And here is what makes it so crucial to have the information. Egg freezing, gives you the option of being able to use eggs, much younger eggs, which have been stored in case they start getting depleted in number and quality. But it is not a guarantee. So, what studies say is that if you freeze eggs when you are lesser than 35 and you have adequate number of eggs frozen anywhere between 8 to 15, then the success rate is anywhere between 40 to 50%, approximately 45%. But if you are older than 35 years of age and you have lesser number of eggs frozen, this success rate can actually drop by 50%. And that is why it is so important to have these fertility conversations. Many a times I have girls and women who are in their, nearing 40s, 38, 39, and they feel that just because now they are older and they have not yet planned pregnancy, they need to freeze their eggs. This is again something everybody should know, that if you want to freeze your eggs, the earlier you do them, much better the outcome, and that gives you a very high chance of success if you have frozen your eggs earlier. So now you know everything about why egg freezing, what is the process, why we are talking about it today, how do you go through it, what is the safety, what are the risks. And then that gets you more. Many people talk about this and say that, oh, egg freezing is very expensive, it is only for wealthy women, it is only if you have certain indications, not knowing that every girl, every woman has a different egg reserve. You will not even know about it if you really do not have this conversation with your fertility expert. So, what are the costs of egg freezing here in India? You can have one cycle of doing the procedure and freezing your oocytes in about 1,40,000 rupees, which is not a huge sum. I mean, this is not like a fixed cost. It could, but depending on the egg injections that you use, depending on how long you have to freeze your eggs, things. Of course, there is always a range, but this is on an average cost. But it is a very minimal cost to really have those eggs preserved for you to have your own biological child. So I think in today's era, when people are really concentrating on careers, have a good pay scales, thinking of doing this is something everyone should consider. In fact, Google and Apple realize this and even have an insurance for their employees, probably I think up to some 20,000 US dollars or something like that. So corporates are understanding that their employees, their women, they are the people who contribute to 50% of their workforce today, ultimately will not be in a happy state or will keep struggling between wanting a career and wanting motherhood, and helping them to understand how they can achieve both. So, this is all about egg freezing from me for you today. And one thing again that I would like everyone to say is that please keep your fertility in focus. Many a times when you're living, when you're focusing on studies, when you are focusing on careers, when relationships are not really something that you feel you want to commit to immediately, we forget about what's happening to our biology. And like I said, if you have the option of a natural conception before 30 years of age, or at least before 35 years of age, wonderful. Please do take it. But if for whatever reasons that is going to be difficult, then be open to the idea of freezing eggs, and at least be open to having this conversation. If you have any questions, post it in the comments below. I read every one of them. And if you want a consultation, the link is in the description. Come and see us. We'll help you understand your fertility and also preserve it.